Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of Find Your Film. This time out, we are doing our bi-monthly Director's Spotlight. This episode, this one is my choice. It is Ronald Neame, Neame. If you haven't heard of who Ronald Neame is, totally understandable because as of maybe even a month ago, I had no idea who Ronald Neame was. Bruce Perky, aka the Poseidon Adventure. I did not change my name. My fault. I am just boring Greg Srzavosty. My co-hosts are Bruce Perky, aka the Poseidon Adventure. Hello, Bruce.
Hello, hello.
And then we have Eric Holmes, aka I'm glad I'm reading correctly. Hopscotch, right? Hopscotch. Eric Holmes, are you a fan of scotch as in the drink or scotch as in the tape?
I like the tape. If I had more of it, I'd tape the kids' mouths closed because there's a bunch of screaming in the background.
It's good sound design for the podcast, my friend.
Yeah,
Don't worry
there you
about
go.
that.
But yeah, tape is good. I don't really do the hard alcohol. I like beer, but not. No, I can't handle it. I get the heartburn.
Heartburn. How about you, Bruce Perky? Was there a time in your life where scotch was a preferred drink of choice for you?
No, if I go hard liquor, it's probably vodka. Or beer for just casual drinking, and then occasionally wine. But yeah, vodka or beer.
Yeah. Several years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I was at this hotel in Pasadena, and there was this bartender. I skipped out on an interview with a fellow journalist, and we decided to go hang out, have a couple of beers while the interview was going on. We were just sick of the whole day. It was a whole day of interviews, and the bartender said, "Hey," I tried to be cool, and I said, "Hey, I'd like to have a scotch," and the bartender says, "Oh, cool, neat." And then I just said, "Neat? Oh yeah, neat. Sounds cool." Had no idea at the age of 40 what neat was regarding scotch. Now I kind of know what neat is, whether I like it neat. I actually do like scotch neat. So, but I haven't done that in years. All of us, I suppose, all three of us, even though we're an explicit show, all three of us at Find Your Film are relative teetotalers, excluding the occasional beer or two. But we're not talking about beer. We're talking about Ronald Neame. Ronald Neame. Bruce Perky, did you know who Ronald Neame was? Did you have an idea when I popped up that name for you? Did you have
Not by name, not until you mentioned a couple of his movies, and then I recognized that I had definitely seen at least 3 of his movies, if not 4 or 5. So yeah.
Okay. Now, the reason why Ronald Neame is not a household name, and of course, Eric Holmes, you had no idea Ronald Neame was Ronald.
Yeah, same deal with Bruce. I knew I knew his work. Didn't know who he was. So that's quite the discovery.
Those screams behind you, Eric Holmes, those are just added effects from the Poseidon Adventure. Did you know that Eric Holmes' family, they're currently watching the Poseidon Adventure? Oh no.
Actually, they're in the bathtub. So it kind of works.
It kind of works. Tell the kiddos to climb the Christmas tree. Whatever they do, climb the Christmas tree on the bathtub. You won't regret it. Or maybe if you don't, you will regret it. Okay, so for this episode for Ronald Neame, we are covering the 2 films, The Poseidon Adventure and another movie called Hopscotch. Now, here's the thing. Both of these movies are in the 70s, early 80s. I believe Hopscotch was 1980. Wait, the Poseidon Adventure, 1980. Thank you, Bruce. The Poseidon Adventure is 1972 and Hopscotch is 1980. Now, I just decided to pick these up because here's just the genesis of this. One day I decided to sell a whole bunch of my DVDs, trade them into my local Blu-ray DVD store, which I frequent. It's called CD Trader. By the way, Eric Holmes, the frequent Blu-ray DVD record store, what's the name of the store that you frequent, Eric Holmes?
I go to Entertainment here in Colorado Springs.
Entertainment over in Colorado Springs. They've been a really wonderful friend to the show. Here's the reason why they're a friend to the show is because Eric Holmes is passionate about going Did you go? You promised a couple of days ago that you would go to your local Entertainment after a hard week's work. Were you able to stop by?
Yes.
Okay. Did you pick up anything?
Well, the middle class film class, I believe, did a thing on The Last Starfighter. I was like,
never seen that.
It's been a while. It's been a long while.
Yeah.
So I picked that up. Let's see what we got here. I ordered Shotgun Stories. Picked that up.
I haven't. I have a feeling I haven't. I know why Eric Holmes decided to pick Shotgun Stories. Possibly down the road. Is that a little tip to the hat there? Maybe.
Might be. And by the way, not an easy movie to find.
Oh, really? Shotgun Stories. Okay.
Yeah, it's we had to order that one in, but Yep.
Cool.
It was good. And
And
then,
yep.
oh, well, since we're talking about it, we also got these two guys right here. So we should probably do something with these.
What does that say? Those are
we got two $20 gift certificates to Entertain Mart.
Okay, two $20 gift certificates, gift cards from Entertain Mart. Thank you, Entertain Mart, for supporting our Find Your Film podcast. We actually randomly drew the winners for our contest, and they are Eric Holmes. Do you want me to do the honors, or do you want to do the honors regarding the two winners? Do you want me to say it, or do you want to say it?
Wait, we're gonna wait till the end of the show.
We're gonna do it right now.
No. Okay, yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, because you know why? I'm very senile, and I forgot last time. So, anyways, thank you, Entertain Mart, for sponsoring us. Chad Wilfong and Jeffrey Bassin, you are the winners of our latest Entertain Mart giveaway. Yes, and Bruce Perky is yes, and everyone's clapping. Yes. Thank you guys for supporting our show. Entertain Mart, Chad Wilfong, Jeffrey Bassin, you will be getting your gift cards very soon. Thanks to Eric Holmes. Thank you, Eric Holmes, for sponsoring as well. And there's the Barbie. Bruce Perky, what is that Barbie doll that you have in your room? Is that a evil doll that you have that you take? Oh,
no, she's not evil. She loses her head from time to time. We have various action figures / dolls / whatever in this room. So flamingos that speak and poop.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so now regarding Ronald Neame, here's the thing. Even though these movies are 1972 to 1980, Ronald Neame, he was born 1911 and he passed away in 2010. So he was 99 when he passed away. Before 1972, which was the release of the Poseidon Adventure, Ronald Neame had an amazing, illustrious career. Okay. He started off producing films with David Lean. He produced the David Lean movies, Brief Encounter, Great Expectations, and Oliver Twist. These were back in the 40s. And he also received 2 Academy Award nominations for writing. And during his lifetime, he was appointed Commander of the Order of the British Empire, CBE. Us here at Stateside have have an inkling of that, what it is, CBE. That's a very high honor in Britain. And he also received the BAFTA Academy Fellowship Award, and it's the highest award the British Film Academy can give a director. So he's known, very well known, I'm assuming, in England. Here stateside, not so well known. And I thought, Eric Holmes, were you surprised from the 2 films that you checked out? What was your general picture from what? Oh, wait a second. You saw 3 Ronald Neame films, right? What's the other movie that you're going to briefly talk about as well?
The other one was called Meteor from 1979. But yeah, regarding the 2, I was struck by how different they were. The Poseidon Adventure is like this kind of well, if you saw the Kurt Russell movie Poseidon, you kind of get an idea of what the story is. But it's a real big, really great sets, great acting, good action, and even decent special effects. Now, when we get to Meteor, special effects kind of take a large dip. But then you got something like Hopscotch with Walter Matthau, which is pretty much comedy. Yeah, definitely light for sure. And it's more of a cat and mouse spy thriller sort of thing.
Yeah.
Almost Coen Brothers-esque, I would say. Or maybe Coen Brothers
cool.
Or perhaps Coen Brothers is Neame-esque, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, I really enjoyed all the pictures, and for various different reasons. And I'm gonna put this on mute real quick so they
go for the mute. Oh, I can't wait till Eric Holmes talks about Meteor. Bruce Perky, just general broad strokes regarding what you saw of Neame's work, those 2 different pieces of work.
Well, it's hard for me to disentangle my reactions, because my reactions to Poseidon Adventure is something I've seen several times in my life. So I have those nostalgia glasses versus seeing it again recently. Well, today. And then Hopscotch, which I had never seen before. I was aware of it, but I never actually watched it. So, but kind of like Eric, kind of struck by, he's not super stylistically self-conscious. I definitely caught that. Like he lets the script and the acting do more of the work. He's not a very visually inventive director. But that being put aside, I was kind of struck by the way he could kind of, like Eric said, do some totally different tones. Do this kind of very energetic, over the top action, exciting movie, and then do something else that's much more comedic and kind of comedic spy kind of movie, I guess you'd say.
I think one of the reasons why Ronald Neame is known is because he sort of faded into the background because he was so good. I guess in baseball terms, he's sort of a utility player where he can play all positions. Very valuable. Both movies are really different. I actually saw one of his. Unfortunately, I did not see Meteor, but I saw this 1950 film he did. He did called Golden Salamander, and it starred Trevor Howard and Anouk Emi, and it was set in Tunisia. As of this recording, it's currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Very interesting film. Felt like a very lived-in thriller, drama thriller. Very well done film. Black and white. And Herbert Lom, Lom, Herbert Lom, who we'll be talking about later in this episode, he's actually in that film, Golden Salamander, and he plays a heavy, and he's very memorable in that film, and he's pretty memorable in a movie that we're going to be talking about later in the episode as well. So it's really cool that Herbert Lom would eventually reunite with Ronald Neame years later. But what's interesting about Neame is, from what I've seen, is look, his favorite film is an Alec Guinness film, I think from the 1950s, called Tunes of Glory. Okay, and so he did this movie called The Horse's Mouth, which is streaming on the Criterion Channel. It's a Criterion disc. He's a celebrated filmmaker. The first movie that we're going to cover, though, is not on Criterion, not on the Criterion Channel. It's not a Criterion film. It's a disaster movie, and for some reason, Eric Holmes did not see it as a youth, but Bruce Perky and I saw it as a youth. And this is my version. What's your version, Bruce Perky? Can you hold up your DVD? Oh, we have the same version.
Mirrors.
Look at that. Look. We have the same version. Wow. Yes, Eric Holmes. How did you see the Poseidon Adventure? We saw it on DVD. How did you check it out?
I'll show you the version I have. It's right here. It's on not on the phone, but it is on YouTube. Cool. I bought it on YouTube, not rented. I bought it on YouTube.
Why did you buy it? You trusted us?
That, and I like the Kurt Russell version, and I own that. And I figured I thought this would be a Inherit the Wind situation, or like a 12 Angry Men situation, where the story is simple enough. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like all versions of this I see.
Okay, so I love you, Eric. I did the press junket years back for that 2006 film Poseidon. Stars Emmy Rossum, Kurt Russell, Josh Lucas. I was so disappointed. Directed by Wolfgang Peterson. Okay, very good director. Okay, really disappointed with that film. That said, if you really enjoyed it, I think I should check it out and see. Maybe I missed the boat on that one. I guess pun intended. But no, I would like to see if that's any good. Eric Holmes, but you liked it. You actually liked the remake.
Yeah. But also, I hadn't seen the Poseidon Adventure, the original, so I didn't have that baggage. Maybe, but I didn't have that baggage with 12 Angry Men either. I saw the Sidney Lumet version, but I still love the William Friedkin version. Same with all the different. I think the Poseidon Adventure, what I really like about it is it's just, you can't get more simple than this story. But a wave capsizes a boat, lots of people die, and the people that are still alive are trying to get to the true north of the boat. We'll say they're not trying to get to the top of the boat, but they're trying to get to the safe part of the boat so they can be rescued. And the original was kind of similar to the Kurt Russell. Similar things happen to the main character. We'll say. Don't know how far into that we want to go. And actually, the weird thing is Gene Hackman definitely, I was getting Kurt Russell vibes from Gene Hackman, which is weird to say because when I saw Poseidon, I wasn't getting Gene Hackman vibes from Kurt Russell. I was getting Kurt Russell vibes from Gene Hackman because he had that kind of same swagger that Kurt Russell has. And but to bring this into Ronald Neame, Oh, hold on. We got a little friend here. What do you think? Yeah, you did love.
Were you traumatized? Schwarzy. Is it Schwarzy, right? Were you traumatized by the Poseidon Adventure?
What did you think of?
I liked it a lot.
Oh, very cool.
But Schwarzy will join me once in a while. He does like the Ronald Neame for sure. But yeah, he has it feels like he's one of those I guess we call them jobbers or whatever, like journeyman. Right. Kind of filmmakers, like just shoot what's on the page. The script works. Let's shoot what's on the page. And as Bruce was saying, he didn't really have a lot of visual flair. But when you have story as tight as Poseidon Adventure, you don't really need a lot of visual flair. You just need to point the camera where the camera needs to be pointed at and cut it in such a way that the thrills are there, regardless of if you have cool camera angles. And I think a lot of times in certain movies that can be a detriment. So not all the time, but once in a while, it's good to have people kind of like Ronald Neame who can just know where to point the camera to be the most effective and most truly represent what the story is. And I'm gonna hit mute again.
I don't think Eric Holmes should actually hit mute, because some of the screaming you hear is some of the screams you're gonna hear when you see the Poseidon Adventure. One of the Oscars that it won for best visual effects and best songs. So
Didn't Shelley Winters win supporting actress?
Shelley Winters, you know what? My bad. It received, I believe, 13 nominations, and it won two Oscars. One for best visual effects and the other one for best song. Shelley Winters received one of the 13 nods for best supporting act. She was so good in this movie. Now, Bruce, you and I can relate to this. We're around the same age. I have not seen this movie at least since 1983 or 84. I rewatched it today. You and I have both had the DVD for a while. I just had the DVD because I used to review DVDs all the time. I unfortunately probably only reviewed the special features. I actually haven't seen this movie forever. When I started watching it today, I was blown away. Eric talks about not too much of a visual style, but sometimes when you just shoot what's on the page or the setups, I remembered almost everything about this movie. Yeah. Every single moment was seemed traumatic, pivotal. It was really ingrained in my mind, and I have no idea why. There's some movies that I think this is one of the top movies in my life where I actually remembered so much about it. Do you think it's because of the trauma or what?
I every time you watch a movie like we're talking about, 30 years apart, certain things are going to hit you differently. I mean, the cheesy stuff that's in here now, the kind of corny setup of all the characters, definitely didn't feel that way to me as a kid. But other than that, though, like you said, the set pieces, I remembered all of the set pieces. And I think part of it is kind of what Eric was mentioning too, is that the story is super tight. The production design is great.
Yeah.
It's other than a few model shots, everything else is pretty much practical. If they're in a hallway that's flooding, they're in a set that's flooding. If they're in a half submerged smokestack, they're in a half submerged smokestack set that they're gonna put water in, and if they're gonna build an upside down bathroom for a scene, they're gonna have it there. So I think that alone makes it really, I think, stick in your head. The other thing, and this struck me this time watching it, is that this is for two things. One, this is the prototype for the modern blockbuster and the modern disaster movie, to the point that certain things are almost parodied. Not Airplane obviously parodied them, but I even thought of like Jaws. There's a whole thing in Jaws where the mayor's like, no, we got to keep this place open and blah, blah, blah. And there's kind of a guy like that in this movie. And also in Titanic, there's the whole thing of that in Titanic too. So there definitely are some nods in other movies. And I would suggest that before video games occurred, this is the first video game movie, if you think about it.
Right. They're trying to level up.
Yeah.
Everything
is like an obstacle and like a level you have to achieve to go to the next level. And that's one of the reasons that kind of sticks in your head. It's a classic adventure. Every stage of this movie is, once you get the setup done, every stage of the movie is, we're here, we have a goal, and we have an obstacle. And when they get to that goal, they have a new goal and a new obstacle. And they keep doing that all movie long. So the stakes and the rewards are super obvious. And that makes it stick in your head. It's just great storytelling.
I forgot how good I was surprised at how good this movie. There's some cheesy moments, of course, but it's really so good. Eric, did you love this movie as much as Bruce and I did? I mean, we started I started out as nostalgia, but then I saw it and I was throwing this as the cheesy pick, but I was surprised at how awesome this movie is.
Yeah. And I do like how it's constantly moving forward and constantly being suspenseful. The part where they have to swim underwater, and obviously there's going to be problems, but more importantly, it's like the kids are there, and kids are largely incompetent when it comes to self-preservation. So I was like, oh God, I hope they make it through. But then, and without getting too much into it, but there's a part at the end where they finally get to breathe. Like they go through all of that, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't end with a bang. It ends with a whimper, but I mean that in such a way where it's like,
Yes.
and no one's saying everything, but they're all looking at that same thing. And if you see the movie, you'll know exactly what they're looking at. And then they're looking around themselves, and they're all just kind of filled with sorrow and kind of hope that we made it, but also sorrow because so many people died. Like we just went through like huge trauma, and yeah, that ending was especially Ernest Borgnine, like the looks he gives at the end. I was just like, dude, it was breaking my heart because his character was a fucking like just kind of a shithead throughout. But then when you finally get him, we finally get him showing that specific emotion. It's like, wow, dude. That's why they cast you in basketball, dude. You are good.
You know what? I haven't listened to the top 5 or wet blankets from the Film Vault. Shout out to Anderson Cowan for that, co-host of that show of TFV. And he mentioned Shelley Winters as one of the top 5 wet blankets for her work in A Place in the Sun. But Shelley Winters, I thought she was annoying in the Poseidon Adventure when I was a kid. And when I rewatched it again, closing in on 50, she was not annoying. She gained 35 pounds for the role. As you said, Bruce Perky, she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Oscar nominated. And she pretty much killed it in this movie. She and Jack Albertson were believable as that couple, right?
Yeah, and I think the key to this movie, and this should be something that other big budget movies need to pay attention to.
And they don't.
Yes. Other big budget movies should think about this movie. This movie is filled with stars. They start them all out as types, right? They go, this is the old couple, and she's the heavy lady, and here's the meek guy. Here's the, preacher that's, whatever. List them all, what other characters are at the beginning. But they give them all arcs. Like all those main characters have arcs. They all have a path that they go through in the story. You could say whether, some of them are overly sentimental or cheesy or whatever, but they all have arcs that give them something to do. So not only do you have the stakes of, hey, if we don't get to the next thing, we're going to literally die, but they also have stuff happening with their characters by the end. And that's where what Eric is talking about. When you have kind of a final, I'm not going to say what happens exactly, but a kind of a final showdown emotionally between the Gene Hackman character and the Ernest Borgnine character, you've earned that moment by that point. And you have maybe picked your sides at that point. And they both are reasonable in their own ways. So it's good stuff. I mean, for big crowd pleasing popcorn movies, it's a step up.
Total step up. The budget of this movie back in 1972, check this out on IMDb. Budget of $5 million, worldwide gross, and this is 72, right? 84 million.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Wasn't it the number 1 box office that year?
I'm assuming it's the number 1 box. It has to be because that was a huge blockbuster. A couple of other movie facts. Carol Lindley, she plays a lounge singer who sings The Morning After. Carol Lindley, it was in her time, in her heyday, a popular actress, and her voice was dubbed in The Morning After, dubbed by singer Renee Armand. But the song, again, like we said, won an Oscar. Best song that year. And of course, Leslie Nielsen. We have to give props to Leslie Nielsen as a ship's captain at the beginning. If you know Leslie Nielsen as a comedian, you can't help but laugh in the beginning moments because it's a dramatic role, but he's always been a very funny guy. When we used to interview him, he'd always have a fart machine, by the way. And he would just, whenever he'd sit down, he'd just pretend, he'd just put on that fart thing and then he'd make the noise and everyone would laugh. Great person, Leslie Nielsen. But what else? Oh, scores by John Williams. And the reason why Ronald Neame, this is going back to Ronald Neame as not being like front and center as far as cinema and auteurs and all that stuff. The movie is produced by Irwin Allen. So when you think of something like The Towering Inferno or something like The Poseidon Adventure, you think Irwin Allen, the producer, first, as opposed to Ronald Neame or the dude who directed The Towering Inferno. I just looked up the name of the guy who directed The Towering Inferno about an hour ago. Had no idea who he was. Still don't know who he is. I just think of Irwin Allen. But that said, one last thing. Shelley Winters gained 35 pounds for her role in the movie. And she said one of her main complaints was she was not able to, throughout her life, she was not able to lose that weight that she gained for that movie. And she also trained with an Olympic swimmer because her character has a very epic underwater sequence with Gene Hackman, not to give too much away, in the Poseidon Adventure. Yes, sir. Eric Holmes.
those scenes were fantastic.
Yeah, they were.
The underwater scenes, because
yeah.
in fact a lot of the stunts in this were great because he doesn't cut away a lot. Ronald Neame doesn't cut away a lot.
Yeah.
And so you have like the kid crawling up that Christmas tree and you're like, oh yeah, that's his stunt double. But then the kid turns around and then says, hey, Mr. Gene Hackman, I made it. It was like, oh, that is not a stunt man. That's the and there's plenty of scenes like that. The underwater one being the most harrowing, where you see the actors and they didn't CGI their faces onto stunt doubles because they didn't have that technology back then. So there was definitely a bunch of stuff where, just watching the actors actually do the stunts. I mean, swimming underwater is not that hard, but when you're swimming underwater with shit all around you, there's a lot of opportunity for drowning, I would say.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead, Bruce.
I was gonna say, and you talk about that underwater scene. I think it demonstrates something that this movie does throughout, which is it presents the geography very clearly. Whereas now you might have it done with a lot more cuts and a lot more shots and a lot more frantic kind of style.
Flash.
But by kind of sitting with it, you actually know, like, they're starting here, they're going here. Here's this thing in between. So when something happens, you know where everyone's at and how far they are away from safety or how much in danger they are. And that's another thing that happens throughout the movie. Like, you always know the geography.
Eric, to your point regarding that tangible nature of the special effects as opposed to CGI driven, where the actors are actually doing these stunts. Carol Lindley, I read this during her obit. She passed away in 2019. Quote, this is a past quote from her during an interview with the Washington Post. It was the most physically demanding role you can possibly imagine, said Lindley. We had to swim underwater, climb across tiny catwalks, and walk over flames. They hosed us down at least 20 times a day. And there were no safety precautions for the first 2 weeks of shooting. I'd be up there on the catwalk, and if I slipped, it was 6 stories straight down through flames to a concrete floor. I went through 10 or 15 pairs of shorts because they kept shrinking. And then another really interesting quote by Lindley regarding the Washington Post interview again. Everybody hated something. I hated the heights. Red Buttons hated the water. And yes, Red Buttons had an epic water sequence as well in this with Ernest Borgnine and Roddy McDowall, as we all know. Stella Stevens hated the dirt, and so did Ernest Borgnine. Shelley Winters hated being fat, and Jack Albertson hated Shelley Winters. So, by the way, that's a very funny quote regarding the Poseidon Adventure. Any final quotes, any thoughts regarding the film before we move to Hopscotch?
The only thing I read a quote, and then I'll let Eric go. I read a quote too, and it was I think it was from Stella Stevens, and she laughed because she's kind of presented as a sex symbol in here, right? And at one point, she just has a shirt and her underwear on, and she said for the rest of her life she was mad she hadn't kept the underwear because she could have sold it for a ton of money on eBay.
Wow. By the way, the Stella Stevens and Ernest Borgnine storyline was awesome. The cop and the former escort. That's a whole different movie. It's really, like, to your point, Bruce. It's a really well written movie. Eric, you were going to say, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to add, because we haven't gotten into Meteor yet, and we will. But I just wanted to point this out, that the ending of Meteor.
Is that a threat that we will get to Meteor? Is that
we will get to Meteor, but I found it odd that the end of Meteor is almost shot for shot the exact same as Poseidon Adventure.
What?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
Different characters, different location, almost the exact same ending.
Okay. So I'm really excited to hear. You know what? Maybe. Well, we'll talk about the Meteor after Hopscotch. That will be our extra bonus thing. But okay, so that is the Poseidon Adventure. It's available on DVD. You know what? I don't even know if it's on Blu-ray, but Eric Holmes saw it on YouTube, so it's available on YouTube. It was available supposedly on Watch TCM, the TCM app. I tried it. I couldn't find it on Watch TCM. So I highly recommend it on DVD, or just find it on, I'm assuming it's probably on digital. Check it out. It's like Bruce said, it's like kind of the granddaddy of disaster films, and it's really well written. Oh, Eric, yes.
The Poseidon Adventure, it is on YouTube. You can get free. It's kind of an okay copy. Or you can just buy it on Amazon. It's pretty cheap on there. And then that's the, again, not a great transfer, but pretty decent, or just watch it for free on YouTube.
By the way, score by John Williams, which I also mentioned, but what was awesome is when the boat actually flipped and you see all of those people falling from one side to the other. No John Williams score. That is a great, you just hear the score, the music is the sound of bodies basically hitting the floor, hitting tables. It is ridiculous. I can't believe that was a great move by director Ronald Neame. Okay, so we're done with the Poseidon Adventure. We are now off to do a little hopscotch. I have no idea why this movie is called Hopscotch. Yes, well, actually, it's based on a novel by Brian Garfield. Oh, Eric Holmes is bringing up his hopscotch. I have a different one. Oh, look, we have different.
Yours looks better.
Yeah. Okay, that's very cool.
I must have the old one.
Yeah, no, okay. So you have yours on DVD. This is a Blu-ray copy, but they're both cool. They're both. By the way, before we start with Hopscotch, was Hopscotch a worthy purchase over at Entertainment Mart for you, Eric Holmes?
Absolutely. I love this movie. I wasn't quite. It reminded me a lot of Burn After Reading. We mentioned the Coen Brothers earlier.
Yes,
but this had like heavy. I need to, when we're done here, I'm gonna have to go look up Coen Brothers interviews and see if they mention Ronald Neame at all, because like between Hopscotch especially, there's so many like Coen Brother-esque kind of little flourishes in there. Not Coen Brother-esque flourishes, because this came out well before that, but it has that same kind of, it's got stakes, there's danger involved, but it's also kind of having fun with itself, and it's real playful. And I think a lot of that comes from Walter Matthau. And his girlfriend, wife, whoever that is,
Glenda Jackson.
Yes. She's great in this.
She's awesome.
And the two of those together, holy crap. Like this is one of those movies I was watching and I'm like, please don't end. Please don't end.
Yeah, before we get to you, just a quick mention about Glenda Jackson. She plays a Viennese widow who, she's rich, and she ends up being sort of a partner in crime to the main character. The main character is played by Walter Matthau, and he's a disgruntled CIA agent, Miles Kendig. They have a really great chemistry, but I think they could have used more of Glenda Jackson, but they didn't overuse. Yes, but I think I'm assuming Ronald Neame knew that, but he still, for some reason, he's like, maybe a little goes a long way. I don't know, but I still, it's a little bit of a nitpick, but still, what little she was in, she made the movie really. She was awesome in the film. Bruce, just broad strokes. You were talking about in the beginning the self-conscious style of Ronald Neame, the lack of that self-conscious style, and I think that's evident in Hopscotch, where he just tells a story. Eric mentions Coen Brothers. Any type of filmmaker would have slathered it with so many flourishes, but is that what you're talking about, like regarding his aesthetic in regards to?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny because I think the flourishes here are the choices that are made instead. For example, casting Walter Matthau. I mean, because originally I think they wanted this to not be comedic at all. It was supposed to be like dramatic and had Warren Beatty and other people, like a dramatic, dark spy thriller. And just the fact that they put Walter Matthau in there, I was thinking about it, I was watching it. I wasn't thinking of Coen Brothers. I was thinking like kind of almost like a Bourne Identity, but with that Walter Matthau flair, which was like such a weird idea to have. But at first, I mean, I don't know how you guys reacted, but I would say the first 10 or 15 minutes, I'm like, Walter Matthau is so weird in this part. I don't know how to take this, because I'm trying to take it seriously, but then I'm like, I can't take this seriously. But then as it sets into motion, we haven't really talked about the basic plot. We'll have to thumbnail that out.
Yeah. But
as it set into motion and you saw that there was kind of this devilish glee and glint that kind of went with Walter Matthau's character, and then it kind of became this, world romp, almost in that sense, almost like a Bond movie, where you're just going all around the place. And this kind of, also, I thought of Catch Me If You Can.
Yes. This
has a ton of that in this too, but with Walter Matthau instead of the beautiful, Leo.
Yeah, beautiful Leo. Yeah.
So anyway, I'll let you go ahead and maybe like thumbnail what this is about. Okay, but I enjoyed it too.
Quick thumbnail. Walter Matthau is CIA agent Miles Kendig. It's a very simple story. He comes back from a big job. He's been working for 2 years. Okay, he could have, if he wanted to, bring this Russian agent Michael Yaskov, played by Herbert Lom, who I mentioned very briefly. He actually starred in the 1950 film, Ronald Neame film, Golden Salamander. 30 years later, he reunites with Neame in Hopscotch, playing that Russian agent that the CIA agent Miles Kendig decides not to arrest. So Miles comes back to Washington and he talks to his boss, G.P. Meyerson, played with just stupendous glee by Ned Beatty. He's just so annoying as the resident boss / prick of the whole thing. He's the real evil person. Okay. GP Meyerson tells Miles, hey, you know what? You could have why didn't you get the Russian agent? And Miles says in a very logical fashion, I've been doing this for all these years. If I caught him, they're going to replace him with a new Russian agent, and we're going to have to learn the tricks of that person's trade all over again. So I'm doing the CIA a favor by keeping that Russian agent out there because I can outmaneuver him. And obviously the boss doesn't understand, and he relegates Miles to working a desk job. That's not a spoiler. That's the first 10 minutes of the movie. And Miles decides the rest of the movie, he's a little bit PO'd about this. He has a light bulb flash of an idea to write his memoirs in the CIA. And not only does he try to do that, he's doing that in a sense to actually piss off his boss, G.P. Meyerson. And what's interesting is Hopscotch can be considered a satire on all those CIA government thrillers of the day, like 3 Days of the Condor, All the President's Men, especially where you mentioned Warren Beatty, Bruce Perky, The Parallax View. All of these are serious political government thrillers. Hopscotch is, like Eric Holmes said, a really light take on that genre, and it's based on the novel by Brian Garfield. Brian Garfield also took that novel and adapted it into the screenplay, which is Hopscotch. Brian Garfield, though, is best known as the author of this book called Death Wish, which was made into a movie starring Charles Bronson. But this is his only real screenplay credit. He was an illustrious author for most of his life. But yeah, he does a great job with Hopscotch. That's it. And yes, and Eric Holmes mentioned Glenna Jackson. She is the widow who ends up being a love interest, but more importantly, a partner in crime to Miles Kendig in his endeavors. And Bruce mentioned about the globetrotting. One thing about Hopscotch is you think it's a light comedy. It is, but it is very deceptively ambitious, where it's shot in Savannah. There's parts in Europe and Austria. It's Washington. This movie is all over the place, but it has a very light touch. Eric Holmes.
It's weird that you bring that up, because it's like he's going like all over these places, and then the CIA or FBI is like looking at all those places, and I'm like, all right, oh, we got him on the phone. All right, did you trace it? Where is he? Oh, it's like 3 blocks that way. Oh, son of a bitch! Like he's always like one step ahead of him.
Yeah, and we have to give some props to Sam Waterston. He plays the replacement of Miles. Yeah, and Eric Holmes just did a thumbs up. He's awesome. Sam Waterston's awesome as always, but he's very good because he's also the guy. He's in charge of the task force assigned to take down Miles, but deep down inside, Miles is his mentor. So they have a really interesting relationship as well. And yeah, I was surprised. This was the movie I knew that I was going to love. The big surprise for me was how great the Poseidon Adventure was. This movie, Bruce, I think one of the things I really loved about it is it has all of these things, all of these elements, and it's funny, but it doesn't do a wink at the audience, like, hey, look how cool we are, or yeah, it just tells a story. Is that Yeah,
no, I agree. And I think that on top of that, it does the things that the spy movie would do. Like it doesn't cheat on that aspect either. Like there's a whole sequence, and once again, I won't spoil it. There's a whole sequence where he finds a house to stay in for a while he's writing a chapter.
Yeah.
And he's doing a bunch of stuff during that sequence, and you're not quite sure exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. But when it pays off in the same way that a standard spy movie would pay off, but it's just more funny than it would be. So I think that kind of stuff is what kind of sets it apart from just kind of say an all-out like farce, you know what I mean, where it would just kind of make fun of everything. It actually takes those elements seriously, but it just twists them with that kind of gruff humor that's really Walter Matthau I mean, that's really, he's the secret sauce in this, right? I mean, this just wouldn't work, I don't think, if he wasn't in the spot he's in this movie.
It's a whole
Also,
different
that
whole
part that
different-
you brought up with the house, it pays off dramatically. It pays off in so many ways.
Yes.
Especially comedically. Like,
Yes.
and yes, as soon as he said the house, I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I love that.
That
Another
has
great.
got to be a great moment in the movie for sure.
Well, Bruce, you and I are huge fans of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Yeah, we loved its use of the music of Vivaldi. But this movie, if you love Mozart, go see it. Just it has tons of Mozart because Walter Matthau is a huge classical music, specifically Mozart fan. And when Ronald Neame heard that, he said, "Okay, you know what? I'm gonna make sure his character listens to Mozart all the time." And so that touch was sort of a really cool combination from Mathau's own personal interest, and Neame decided just to throw that in. And did you guys think that was a really cool touch as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just joined up on one of our Facebook. Our main Facebook group is Cinematics Facebook group. I actually joined up a Facebook group today called Criterion Channel Forum. I was so amped after watching Hopscotch, and I wanted to see if any of the Criterion Channel enthusiasts really loved this movie, loved Hopscotch. And I got one response from Max Magby. He's a member. And he said, I remember seeing this in a theater on its original theatrical release. I was 8 years old at the time and couldn't quite grasp what I was seeing. Revisiting it many years later, I loved it. Ronald Neame was a terrific filmmaker and cinematographer. By the way, before he started off doing doing directing in the early 50s, he was an acclaimed acclaimed DP. I forgot to mention that as well. So he's even before 1950, he had a long running career in the business. Anyways, going back to his comment, he directed two outstanding Alec Guinness films, The Horse's Mouth and Tunes of Glory. I have The Horse's Mouth back there on my DVD. I have to check it out. Both of which are in the collection, the Criterion Collection, and was a DP of the Michael Powell Pressburger classic, One of Our Aircraft is Missing. That I did not know. So shout out to the Criterion Channel Forum. We'll definitely watch more of Ronald Neame's works of art. So anyways, Hopscotch, I'm trying to think of anything else to say about this movie. Eric Holmes, you got it.
Can we talk about that brilliant opening to this movie? Anytime a movie starts off with zero dialogue and it's just all pure filmmaking,
Sure.
where you see Walter Matthau, he's taking the picture and he's looking around and then he sees that guy, and so you see a guy in the crowd, and then it gets over and you see this girl doing the thing with her purse. It's like one of those really great spy kind of scenes, but it's like no dialogue, no nothing. You just get to kind of watch the scene play out, and it's reminds me a lot. I mean, There Will Be Blood's probably the most recent example I can think of where they do that, but and it's not the only one, but I really like when movies start off like that, where you just kind of, there's something going on here. I'm not quite sure.
At the Oktoberfest, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. He was like, they were going for where they end up getting the cigarettes, and there was that little microfilm.
Yeah.
And that's another reason I knew this was going to be a movie. This was going to be a movie I loved. There was a microfilm in the movie. Anytime microfilm shows up, it's a movie I want to see.
I think I read about that scene. If I'm not mistaken, that scene also, because what it is you have Walter Matthau kind of up above like a large a beer hall, like a German beer hall or whatever, and they're having Oktoberfest and whatever, and he's trying to kind of subvertly spy and take photos of a meeting and a transfer of secrets, whatever. And I thought I read that they had like a bunch of cameras there to film it from all different angles, and that they didn't stage it. Other than the actors, I think there were just people there at the beer fest, at the Oktoberfest. So I think that they just kind of did one of those Friedkin style, hey, let's just film an actual location, have our actors in there just interacting with it, and we'll get what we get. I'm pretty sure that's what happened in that situation.
And I'm surprised. I want to see the deleted scene where they had everything, and then Walter Matthau was like, "Leave me alone, kid! Can't you see I'm working here?"
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I think there's some other story too about him. He wouldn't go to Germany. Like he refused to go to Germany because a lot of his family had died in the Holocaust. He refused to go to Germany unless they like cast his son. I think his son is in a small role in this movie. So there's some interesting little factoids about that whole sequence. So
Well, there's a woman who drives him in a little plane thing, and then
Mhm.
I think he's off to I think Bermuda, right? Bermuda.
Yes,
His
off to
character's off,
Bermuda.
and then she mentioned something about how she reminds him of her father in real life. That is his stepdaughter.
Yeah.
That is Walter Matthau's stepdaughter. And there's also little other things, little Easter eggs here. There's a character here called Parker Westlake, and that is an homage to Donald Westlake, an author I interviewed years ago. Donald Westlake he's best known for his work in that movie The Grifters, but Donald Westlake was a very popular writer, mystery writer. And Parker Westlake is Parker. Parker was one of the main was the pseudonym of Donald Westlake. Richard Parker as well, I believe that was his pseudonym. And there's also another person named Ludlum, as in Robert Ludlum.
Mhm.
There's another person named Foley, like in Ken Foley. All these different mystery thriller writers became characters in this movie, and that was really cool. Some really cool Easter eggs. Again, this movie could be split into several sections. I would love to see a movie with just Ned Beatty as G.P. Meyerson just pissing off everyone in the staff, and Sam Waterston just rolling his eyes. There could be a movie of just like on that bureaucracy, and there could be just an entire movie. There could be an entire movie with just Walter Matthau and Glenda Jackson just hanging out in
Yes.
Vienna, right?
Just going on a vacation across Europe. I'd watch that shit.
Yeah. Or how about just playing gin rummy and just going to bed right after? That's cool. I'm down with that, right?
Yes. Oh, and how about her dog? Did we love her dog? Did we love her dog?
Dog, yeah. I was
And the
scared.
use of
Yeah.
her dog in this movie, so good.
It's like, I'm just going to reach for the phone. You know what? Maybe I'll just sit here.
That's once again, we talked about this a little bit in Poseidon Adventure, but this movie is a great example of once again, real solid storytelling where you set up certain things and you pay them off, right? The dog, that house that he's in for a while. There's numerous occasions here where little things are started out and set up, but they pay them off in really satisfying and solid ways, not like contrived ways, but ways that make sense in the film. So,
And
Yeah,
this
it just
movie
makes
is hour and 45 minutes.
yeah.
The hour and 45 minutes. It takes place over what, like a couple months, something like that. Globetrots all around the world. Hour and 45 minutes. So this is the Hopscotch is yet another example of you don't need to have a 3-hour movie to tell an epic story.
Okay. I don't like that dig on Cherry. Don't like it. I love the Russo brothers. By the way, let's stick on the positives. Hopscotch, little plug. This
I
is
didn't. I didn't mention Russo brothers. You did.
What? I'm editing that Russo brothers comment. Eric Holmes, how dare you? We're talking about Ronald friggin' Neame, not Tom Holland and the Russo brothers, man. Okay, so so on this DVD for Criterion, which Eric and I bought, I think I have this one is the new 4K digital restoration, and it has interviews from 2002 with director Ronald Neame and writer Brian Garfield. Both have since passed. And there's a Walter Matthau. By the way, Walter Matthau passed in 2000, but there's a 1980 Walter Matthau appearance in the Dick Cavett Show and the trailer, all that stuff. So those are among the special features. But check this out, Bruce Perky. I don't know if you have this as well. There's also an essay in my version, but look at this awesome little
nice
artwork here. Yeah, isn't it
very
cool?
cool.
Yeah, I love the art and the typewriter. The typewriter.
The typewriter.
Yeah, so
That he just carries around with him and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the typewriter scene when he's just working on his novel at the house, the aforementioned house, Bruce. Ronald Neame was in a little bit of a pickle. He needed an actual piece from Mozart, and he asked Matthau, "Do you know a piece that would go well with that scene?" And whatever that music is playing when Walter Matthau is typing, that Mozart piece that was chosen specifically from Matthau. So I don't know. Just after watching this, I want to now go see more Walter Matthau movies. Do you guys have any? This is Find Your Film. Do you have any personal recommendations regarding Walter Matthau films yourself, Eric?
There's a few.
Bruce? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the most obvious one that comes to mind is Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. That movie is fantastic. And then, of course, anytime him and Jack Lemmon are showed up together is always a treat.
By the way, Bruce Perky can be a Shutter shill. Eric Holmes can be a YouTube shill. By the way, I believe he is a majority stakeholder in YouTube. Eric Holmes, you are. But I'm going to be a shill for Criterion Channel. This month on Criterion Channel, they are showing a Walter Matthau film called A New Leaf, directed by Elaine May. Have any of you guys seen this movie?
New Leaf. No.
And have any of you heard this movie about a new leaf? Yes, my
Don't
late
think
uncle
so.
actually recommended A New Leaf to me, and I think it's about Walter Matthau plays. I'm trying to think. He's playing a guy who's trying to murder a woman or actually take her out, and that woman is played by Elaine May, but he ends up, I think, falling in love with her. So it's a comedy, and it's directed by Elaine May, and it stars Elaine May, and that is A New Leaf. But anyways, that is Hopscotch. Wonderful movie,
I got
and yes,
I got one more Walter Matthau, and
Yep.
I may have donkey brains, but I believe he was the Brian Dennehy character in First Blood. Walter Matthau played that kind of same character in Lonely Are the Brave to
Oh,
Kirk Douglas.
Kirk Douglas.
But yeah, Lonely Are the Brave would be another great Walter Matthau movie to do, unless I just got complete donkey brains, but I'm pretty sure he's in that one.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Lonely Are the Brave. Okay.
And obviously the Bad News Bears, but another one that was talked about a lot at the time, but I don't think you hear about it much right now is the Sunshine Boys.
Okay. The Sunshine Boys.
Have you
Very
seen the
good.
Sunshine Boys?
I have not. I actually, with George Burns, right? Wasn't George Burns in there?
Yes.
I saw parts of it maybe when I was a kid, but Sunshine Boys and Eric Holmes. Don't worry, Eric Holmes. You are correct. Lonely Are the Brave. He's in Lonely Are the Brave. And in
I always gotta double check because I got
Donkey Brains. Donkey.
Yeah, I got chewing gum in my head. So, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, same
sorry.
here. I have chewing gum in my head as well. The following year in 1963, I believe, I haven't seen this. It's a Cary Grant film called Charade, or I like to call it Charade. I think he plays the heavy, the bad guy in that movie. I don't know if I'm correct, but anyways, a lot of Walter Matthau love, a lot of Ronald Neame love regarding Hopscotch. Anything else you guys want to say regarding Hopscotch? Strong recommend from all around?
Yes.
Yes, very strong recommend.
Mm-hmm.
If you love Coen Brothers, give this a shot. Should we mention why it's called Hopscotch? Or I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but
Yeah,
I wonder if maybe people might be curious. If you don't know, Hopscotch ends up being the name of the title of the book he's writing. His memoirs. It's
Oh my
called
gosh,
Hopscotch.
that's a great impression. Did you hear that,
Yeah.
Bruce? Did you hear the Matthau? I can't do that.
It's almost as good as Walter Matthau's impressions that he does in Hopscotch.
By the way, here's the reason why you guys should see it. Of course, Walter Matthau. We mentioned Ronald Neame, Glenna Jackson, so many really wonderful actors in this movie. I just really I was gonna say there was one more reason. Mozart, there was one more reason. I had it on the tip of my and I forgot.
Ned Beatty.
Which one?
Ned Beatty.
Oh, Ned Beatty, fantastic.
Oh.
Everyone's fantastic in this
Yeah.
movie. I'm completely blanking out why.
Herbert
You should
Lom?
definitely. Which one? And Herbert Lom's in it?
Herbert Lom?
Again, I have, like Eric Holmes, I have donkey brains. We are moving on from Hopscotch. Eventually, I'm going to get it probably when we stop recording. Meteor, Eric Holmes, me and Bruce, are we at the disadvantage for not doing our extra credit homework and watching Meteor? Please give us the honest lowdown on this. And before you get into it, I just want you to say that Ronald Neame, one of the big reasons why he actually rejected Hopscotch, the screenplay, because he actually, to Bruce's point, he actually liked the original novel better, which, like Bruce was saying, was probably a more darker take. And he was being very picky about his next film in 1980 because he was not very pleased with the last couple of films he did. One of those films, of course, being Meteor. So now, give it your judgment.
Okay, well, Meteor. Well, first of all, the effects in Meteor are bad, even for the day they came out. But it's a Armageddon Deep Impact type story. There's a meteor coming towards Earth, and we got 6 days to stop it. Well, if you know anything about space travel, you know that 6 days to get up into space is impossible. And they're trying to think, what do we do? Well, I guess we just got to sit here and wait for the meteor because we're all going to die. Well, I mean, we do have that thing. What thing? You know what thing? Yeah, we don't talk about that thing. That thing is that the USA has orbiting the Earth a bunch of nuclear missiles pointed at Russia. This is for military safety. This is off the books. This should not be there. If anyone finds out that this is there, it goes against all sort of international treaties, and United States would be, they'd be on trial for war crimes. But we need this because this is the only thing we can have that can stop the meteor that's coming towards us. But we can't use it because if we use it, we're going to be tried for war crimes. So the whole conflict is do we stay here and die from meteor, or do we die when we get hung for war crimes? So like, what, which one do you want?
That's interesting. That's
And
interesting.
then the movie goes on, and they come to find out that Russia has missiles up in space, and they're pointed at the United States. So everyone's like kind of trying to hide their hand, not knowing they're all holding the exact same hand. And this movie is fantastic. Like the meteor coming towards Earth, going to crash onto Earth. That's okay, cool. That has its own drama, its own dramatic elements. But the way they work this into a political satire and thriller, I was not expecting any of that in this thing. I'm like, so the special effects suck. I didn't give a fuck because I was so locked into this story and how everything was going to play out, and
Wow.
even more so in movies of this type. And this is a movie that needs to have that absolutely needs to have a remake, and probably make Sean Connery's the main character. Probably make him a little less rapey.
Oh God.
Kind of write his character down a bit. But
Bruce, check this out. Sorry, Eric. Sean Connery,
good.
Natalie Wood, Carl Malden, Brian Keith, who we all love from Nightfall, Martin Landau, Trevor Howard, by the way. Trevor Howard stars in this. He plays Sir Michael Hughes. By the way, Eric, Trevor Howard is the main actor in Golden Salamander from 1950. So it's interesting. Again, some 29 years later, he reunites with Ronald Neame. Okay, so yeah, very great cast. But Eric, you're saying the movie it should be remade, but the movie itself stands on its own.
It does, except for the where this movie falls is it's a spectacle movie. It's a movie about meteors hitting Earth, and the special effects just aren't there, like not at all. And this is what this came out in 79, I think.
79, right?
I mean, this is after Star Wars, I believe, probably Indiana Jones, like,
Close Encounters.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
Alien.
It's not like the technology wasn't there. And like, for instance, there's a part where the meteor, and this is for the anyone watching the video, but there's a part where the space people are in the spacecraft, and there's a meteor coming towards it, about to destroy the spacecraft they're in, and they wreck, and they do this. Oh no!
They all sway.
Like you see them all just.
We're all tilting.
They're like, we are in space. I'm like, these are special effects I would expect out of an Ed Wood movie, like 100%, which is weird because you put this up, you figure, oh, it's just the time. But Poseidon Adventure came out before this, yes?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 7 years before. Yeah.
And
72.
Poseidon Adventure, like they have these huge sets and like everything, like it's harrowing because everything looks so real. Even the wave itself, I mean, granted, it's probably stock footage or something, but the wave looks pretty big, and the way they cut it in, the special effects in Meteor just do not work. But the story is so strong, and the plot is so interesting that it doesn't matter.
It tipped it over for you. More than tipped it over?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Like a lot. I love Meteor. Just know
you love Meteor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just know that.
Whoa.
Just
Wait
know
a
that
second.
the special effects are going to be bad.
Someone says, I don't care about special effects. Should I see Meteor or the Poseidon Adventure? Your heart, follow it. What do you say?
Do you want character work? You go with Poseidon Adventure. You want interesting story and political intrigue? You go with Meteor.
Oh my God. Very
You
good
want
pull,
both?
Eric.
You want both? You go with Hopscotch.
Very awesome. Very awesome. Okay, so that is wow. Meteor. I had no Bruce. Are you surprised? I had no idea. I was thinking of some kind of.
Yeah, I don't
thought it was
remember
gonna be-
much about it when I was a kid, because when I saw it as a kid, I probably was bored by the political stuff, and I wasn't happy by the stuff that Eric doesn't like. So I'm surprised.
Yeah. So that is wow. Very cool. So Meteor. So that's and you saw this on YouTube.
Rented this on Amazon.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So it's available on Amazon. Maybe we might
Should have bought it on Amazon, but I rented it on Amazon. Maybe it'll come out on Criterion, and I'll buy that disc.
Wow.
Actually, this would be a movie that probably, and I don't know, I haven't checked, but Meteor seems like it'd be one of those like Arrow release type movies. Like They Live's a good example of that. You
Yeah.
go in They Live, you think you know what you're getting, and then you watch it and you're like, oh no, this is not at all what I was expecting. This is like way smarter than what I was expecting. That's kind of
Yeah.
what Meteor is. You think it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a popcorn Michael Bay movie, and then you watch it and like, holy shit! Like, oh, the best example I can give of this, and it never went there, but the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, he goes in, and then Indiana Jones is doing his Indiana Jones things. He's talking to these guys, and then they start to question whether or not Indiana Jones is a communist. And then right away, I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna do this. Oh my god, this is gonna be interesting. And then they dropped it and didn't matter for the rest of the movie. But this is kind of like that. But then they take it there.
Nice.
You think it's going to be this movie, and then they drop that political intrigue, and then they lean in hard on that, probably because they were like, special effects.
This Meteor looks like shit.
All right, so that is Meteor. That was made in 1979. So we covered a whole bunch of Ronald Neame movies, and I mean, we haven't even, maybe one of these days down the road we'll cover his British era. We'll get into a huge Alec Guinness movie phase. Who knows? Maybe down the road. Were you ever an Alec Guinness fan, Bruce? Did you ever have a Lavender Hill Mob or 1950s? What is it? Ealing comedy phase? None of that stuff, huh?
Only, I mean, all of the biggies, like what, Bridge Over River Kwai and
Right?
Star Wars.
Yeah,
I mean,
so maybe a revisit to Ronald Neame. You know what? By the way, we haven't revisited anything. We had an Argento. We used to do Argento for a while, but maybe down the line we're going to start doing some revisits. Maybe sooner than you guys think. So
we did do 2 of his disaster movies. I can tell you on the next proper episode of Find Your Film.
Yes,
I will continue the disaster movie. The disaster movie train will keep going onto the next episode. Maybe not Ronald Neame, but we will talk more about disaster movies for sure.
Maybe we'll join you on that. Who's doing our next Find Your Film Director Spotlight? Is that you, Eric Holmes?
I think
is
it's
that
Bruce.
You? Oh, it's Bruce.
Yeah, mine was Ralph Bakshi. You did Ronald Neame, so now it's Bruce. I do have an idea for my next one, but yeah, it's Bruce's turn now.
My fault. Bruce Perky, do you have something that's percolating?
I do. I know who I'm going to do.
Yes, and
it might be great. It might be weird and terrible, but we're going to give it a try. We are going to do Leo Carax. I don't know how to say his last name.
Leo Carax. Oh,
Carax.
Is that the guy who did Holy Motors or something like that?
That is one of the movies we're going to do. We're going to do Holy Motors, and we're going to do The Lovers on the Bridge, which I have not seen, so it may or may not be good. But I guarantee Holy Motors will at least spark conversation. Have either of you seen either movie?
No. Okay. And yeah, I know. I remember you covered Holy Motors. Probably you did a little review for a review maybe for Movie Mainline when we were doing that.
I think it's just come up in conversation. I don't think I've ever talked about it in general. So and it is available in a lot of places. Holy Motors you can get on, I think, like Tubi and Pluto and all over the place for free. So you don't have to look very hard for it. The Lovers on the Bridge is available if you have CBS All Access. If you don't, you can rent it for a couple bucks on wherever you want to find it.
CBS All Access has now changed within the last several days to I don't even know what.
Paramount Plus or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah. I decided to subscribe to it. Yeah.
These are going to be different movies. You do not know, if you have not seen Holy Motors, you don't know what you're in for. I can guarantee you that.
Yes. Awesome. I'm excited to check it out. Okay, that's it. Any closing comments regarding Ronald Neame? By the way, I just borrowed his autobiography. I think it's called Straight from the Horse's Mouth. There's because that's a take on his movie, The Horse's Mouth. So I'll be reading more of that down the road, and I'll be posting some of the interesting factoids on our findyourscene.com website. Which good news is, my main job during the week is taking care, being a nanny to my wonderful 4.5-year-old niece, Claire. And I was telling my buddies, comrades in arms, that she's going to school. She's going to school next week, pre-K. So that gives me an extra 8 to 10 hours to actually start realistically working on my websites. And I'm excited to actually start housing a lot of our archival stuff. We have like hundreds and hundreds of movies that I need to put up on the site. It's ridiculous, as well as the stuff I do with Anderson Cowan with cinematics. So when you go to listeners, when you go to findyourscene.com in the coming weeks, it will literally become an archival site, and I will be really I'll be looking out for some artists out there, other maybe just commenters, posts, all that kind of stuff. We'll be looking out for some more movie stuff to put on that website. And again, our main goal was to actually make this more than just a podcast episode. We want it to be a living, breathing thing with all the directors we spotlight. So yeah, that's it. And closing comments, Eric Holmes, closing.
I really like Ronald Neame. I saw 3 of his movies, and all 3 were fantastic. And I just want to, again, we mentioned he's not the most visual, visionary director or whatever, but dude, he shoots the hell out of a script. I mean, he seems to have a good eye for what's a good story, and he's just able to nail it. And there's a lot of directors try to put their fingerprints on it, put their stamp on it, and there's a place like that. I love watching David Fincher movies, but sometimes you watch movies like Ronald Neame movies, and they don't look, you're just seeing the story. And sometimes when the stories are this good, that's all you need. And in fact, that serves the story the best when you can do that.
Bruce, I'm gonna throw this one last thing to you. Is again, celebrated DP, collaborated with David Lean, produced 3 of his movies, worked with Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger before he even started directing, directed for a while in Britain, decided to come to LA, did a whole bunch. Well, I forgot all those movies he did with Alec Guinness in England that were praised. And then he does all these disaster movies and Hopscotch, all these different movies. Is there a reason why we're probably one of the only podcasts to even put him in the podcast universe? Why is his name not even out there? Do you have a wild theory?
That part I can't tell you. I mean, I can see in the general sense, like we talked about him being kind of everyman and all that kind of stuff, not calling
Right.
attention to himself, not putting himself above the title, all that kind of stuff. But he should still be a name that we know because he's made some really, really impactful movies. If nothing else, like you said, working those early Alec Guinness movies and then making the Poseidon Adventure. I mean, number 1 movie that year that everyone knows about. We should know who this guy is. So.
Well, my big fear is our respective childhoods. Me and Bruce Perky, we both loved and were emotionally marked by the Poseidon Adventure. I have a ongoing nightmare that in come the midnight hour, Bruce and I on separate occasion will be watching Meteor and be wondering, oh my God, I missed this as a child? No, that will be devastating for both of us. I'll feel like Gene Hackman holding onto a real hot wheel and turning and twisting. And does he hold on? Does Gene Hackman hold on to the wheel? He turns it, Bruce. He turns it. Eric, does Gene Hackman make it? Does he make it? No one will ever know. No one will ever know. You have to watch the Poseidon.
Tune in next week on Find Your Film to find out if Gene Perkman held on to the hot wheel.
All right, guys, we are your French connection. We are Gene Hackman holding onto the wheel, and we are Find Your Film. We'll see you guys next week.